Hello everyone, welcome to Prosearium.net. Prosearium.net is an initiative to create positive representation for African women in games. We're doing this by documenting 1,000 African women who have a role in games, from hobbyists to game developers to esports professionals and more. You can support us on Patreon for exclusive content. And now, let's get to today's video.
Hello everyone, my name is Chechiwa. I'm a writer at Prosearium.net, and today we are interviewing Sithe. She is the founder and director at Prosearium.net. So we're going to talk about how Prosearium came to be, and we have a few questions for her. So welcome, Sithe.
Well, thank you, Chechiwa. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to start with a question that we normally ask everyone. Could you just tell us a bit about yourself?
My name is Sithe. I recently graduated from Nelson Mandela University with a degree in computer science. But while I was doing that, I was working on a bunch of things. I was doing Prosearium, and I was a part-time researcher, freelance researcher. And now I am working at a game development company, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. So that's about me.
That's interesting. What is Prosearium? When was it born, and what does it mean? What does the word Prosearium mean?
So the word Prosearium is a combination of two words. A rosarium is a garden of flowers, and a prosarium is a book of stories. So I combined the two words just because I thought they sounded cool, and I wanted something which I know didn't exist. So Prosearium is a website and initiative to document 1,000 African women in games. Though I don't know if we'll reach that number, but it's the goal, 1,000 women by 2026. And how it started was simply because I noticed that there was nowhere where you could find a community or even just a list of African women in games. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do that.
Okay, I can tell you are into books as well because of the reference to the book of stories. So when was it born?
5th December 2019, which is actually my birthday, the 5th of December. I chose the date because I was like, by the time I'm done, it would be nice to just celebrate being done on my birthday.
So actually, the next question would be about your previous project, from where Prosearium is born, the Wonga Game Lab. Could you just tell us a bit more about that? What is it?
Wonga Game Lab is a community that I started in 2013. And it was a game development community in Zambia. And we used to have events and workshops to teach people about how to make games. And a lot of the times it was teaching people how to make games without any programming experience. But something which I noticed was that there weren't a lot of women showing up at our workshops, and that's something which I wanted to change. So then I thought I was hosting workshops for women in games only, and I decided to focus on that because I could see that the Zambian game development community was coming into its own, like people were getting to run it by themselves. So I was like, okay, it's fine. I can leave that and focus on getting more women into the community.
So for how long did you work on Wonga?
Since 2013, and I believe we stopped maybe 2018 or 2017.
Okay.
2019. It was 2019 actually, yeah.
So I wanted a bit more of some in-depth insight on how Wonga became Prosearium. Does this mean that Prosearium is now an evolved version of Wonga?
No, I consider them two separate things, but one was born from the other, if that makes sense. So through the work I was doing with the Wonga Game Lab, the women game development workshops, that's where I decided to just take that part and make it its own thing and give it a name. And then also give it some SMART goals, the specific, measurable, attainable, I forget the R, and then time bound. Yeah.
Realistic.
Realistic.
Yes.
Time bound. Though now I'm thinking that I'm not doing the R right, because 1,000 is a lot. I only realized recently that 1,000 is actually a lot.
How is Prosearium different or similar to Wonga? What makes the two different?
What makes them different? I'll start with that because it's easier. What makes it different is we don't just do events where there's actually a goal to document the people behind the event. So Proserum is more focused on the people who not only people who attend events, but they're actually looking out for people. And another difference is that Proserum is all over Africa and the diaspora, whereas Wonga Game Lab was just Zambia. So there are a lot of differences, but in terms of similarities, we both still host events.
Mm-hmm.
And we both host both host events, and both had a part that would focus on getting more women into game development. So those are the similarities.
I know you have some experience with designing games. You did a game for your school project. So what was that about? What was it like? What was your experience working on Lumiere?
Lumiere was a game, or is a game. It's a meditative game to kind of help people relax. So the whole purpose of my project was comparing natural user interfaces, which are like user interfaces that use things like different parts of your body, other parts of your body. Like, so rather than using a mouse and keyboard or a controller, using touch, using motion control, using eye tracking. So I was going to compare those and see which one makes you more relaxed. So I made a game that allowed you to use touch and eye tracking to control a firefly in a pond. So that's the game. That was the game. You control a firefly in the pond. But the most interesting part, my favorite part, was using the eye tracking. So all you had to do was look around the screen and you could control where the firefly goes. Like wherever you're looking, that's where the firefly would go. I like that.
Okay, that was really interesting. Did designing your own game make you think about games or gaming differently?
It did, because you always, every time you get into game development, or every time I got into game development before, I was always making something very, very small, and it was fun. And it didn't mean too much. It was just a fun game that existed. But now having a game that had to be graded, and something which had to have a purpose, a much bigger purpose than just being something small, it made me realize how it must be much harder for people to make games like that need to sell, and games that have to have games that have to have specific goals. Like they have to sell, they have to be fun, they have to appeal to certain markets. I'm like, that's kind of like being graded, so that's a lot harder. And since I work in a game development company now, I'm also seeing like it's a lot harder than you would think to make games. But it's fun though. It's a fun journey.
Okay, at least that proves that there are a lot of ways in which you can look at gaming. There is so much that you can do. So it means there's more jobs. So that's a good side.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of jobs in game development. There are a lot of jobs, way more than people would think, because a lot of people think it's just about programming, game design, art, audio, but there are a lot of jobs. There's QA, production, project management, and the part which I find the most interesting is project management, because a lot of people underestimate how much project management skills can change how good your game is actually. Yeah.
Okay. So our next question is about your love of gaming. What are some of your favorite games?
One is Tekken, which I've been playing with my brothers since I was a kid. In fact, that's probably the game I've put the most hours in my life, because I literally remember us playing that game like weekends on weekends on weekends on weekends. Like every weekend we'll just play it, and we wouldn't even switch off the PlayStation. So there's that game. And more recently, some games I've gotten into. Don't Starve Together. It's a game where you try to survive in the wilderness with like cartoonish characters. And I like that a lot because you can also play online with people, and it's something which I play online with my brothers sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And my third favorite game is Borderlands, which is it's a first person shooter game. And I don't usually like shooters, but the game is so funny and crazy. Like it's a really crazy game, and it's so funny that I actually like it, to my surprise.
Most of us were introduced to gaming with Super Mario Bros.
Mm-hmm.
Can even like hear the theme song playing in my head right now. Okay, so after your goal of documenting 1,000 African women in gaming has been achieved, what's next for Prosearium?
I actually want to try and cut the goal down to 100 if possible, and that's where I want to do stuff afterwards. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll still have it running, still have people and able to interview, but once we reach 100, I want to do like analyze all the responses we have, and start building, write articles on things that I've learned, maybe do some research on the stuff that I've learned. I was a freelance researcher before, so maybe just doing my own independent research on the things which we observe from that. And I'm just hoping stuff like that, like writing about that and like interviewing women and connecting people as well. I want that to happen. In fact, possibly have an event and try to connect people, especially the people who have interviewed, to other people in games. There's a lot of stuff that I'm interested in doing. Like I'll be really excited once we get to 100, because that was actually the first goal. The first goal is to get to 100 before, or by the end of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So hope so that means like I can start as soon as next year doing these exciting things. But if we get to 1,000, like that'll be amazing. I don't even know what I'll do with that, because 1,000 is a lot.
It
Yeah.
is. Reach for the stars.
Yeah.
So, what's the best advice someone has ever given you regarding Prosearium or just life in general?
Let's see. A lot of people are really encouraging. They're like, Sita, we love the work you do. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. So no one's given me specific advice. Let me see. Can I try and think? Okay. The people said don't be afraid to ask for help. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the best. That's like the best advice, and it's something which I've struggled with in the past, and I still struggle with. Is not being afraid to ask for help. And also someone's I think no the best advice for the project in general that I was given was to start a Patreon for it, and that was the first advice I was like, even before I started it, like when there was just a website and I had interviewed no one.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said, if you start a Patreon, I will be your first supporter, and they did. They were my first supporter, and now the people who are subscribed to Patreon, they help me maintain the website, because it obviously costs stuff to maintain the website. So no matter what, even if I don't have a job, I don't have any source of income at all, then Prosearium can still exist because of the Patreon subscribers.
Oh. Okay, so I guess we can switch the question a bit. Having what you've gone through, the experience you've had, what advice would you give someone else who wanted to start something similar to what you're doing right now?
I would say have a plan from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
like especially like if it's a website. I know a lot of times we don't think about how we plan our websites, and also get advice from the very beginning. Like you can get advice. Don't be afraid to ask for advice from the very beginning. Even before you start, you can ask for advice. You can have people check out your plan and ask them what they think. People will usually have great ideas, because I think I did have a plan before, I did, yeah. I actually did have a plan before I started, and I passed it around to other people, and they were giving me recommendations like so where are these people going to come from, and it helped me think about having workshops. I was like, oh, I can have workshops and interview people from the workshops and stuff like that. So I think asking for advice early on and letting people review your plan, and
Mhm.
also first of all having a plan.
Was it your dream to work in games?
Interestingly, yes,
Mm.
because and before that, it wasn't my initial dream, I can say, but it's something which I've enjoyed my whole life. I've enjoyed games my whole life, but then when it came to career choices, I was mostly following what other people told me. Like everyone was like, "Oh, you should be an engineer. You're so good at math and physics. You should be an engineer." So I followed what people were saying, but then I had a terrible time in engineering at university. I had a terrible time, and then when it came to, I actually went to therapy, or I saw a counselor, and they were asking me. When I told them I'm not enjoying engineering, like she asked me, "What do you want to do? Well, like, what do you want to do?" And then I was like, I don't remember if I said computer science or making games. I think I said computer science, but in my head, I was like, maybe I can make games like this. So that's when I that's when it became my own dream. And yeah, I actually can't believe I'm already working at a games company. I thought it would take a lot longer to get here.
Sometimes when certain things align, when we're doing what we love. And our last question. Is there anything you'd like us to know, a fun fact?
Okay, I always share this fun fact it's my default fun fact. I was I was chased by a hippo twice. Well, let me say my class twice. The same hippo twice. Yeah, I know
How did
it's
that happen?
crazy. So I don't know if you know Chimpunchi Wildlife Orphanage.
No,
It's
I've not heard of
in Solwezi,
one. Mhm.
Zambia. So they had a pet hippo called Billy. Imagine a pet hippo.
Maybe it was
But
playing.
it was no, yeah, that's what they said. But it was tearing down fences and all that and playing. And who knows, it could have ended up playing on someone's body.
Yeah.
So no. And it happened twice, the same hippo. Like we went for a field trip when I was in primary school. And then I went for another field trip when I was in secondary school. And it happened on both trips. So I was just like, does this happen every time someone goes to this place? Or does this happen every time the school goes to this place? It was crazy. I'm like, the same hippo again? Like,
That is a
wow.
very dramatic hippo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Sithe, thank you so much for your time. And you're doing very good work with Prosearium. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you
And
so
all the
much.
best on the goal.
Mhm.
And then we
Thank
really
you.
look forward for what's next after Prosearium.
Yeah. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to it.
All right. Bye. Bye. I think you did well. How did I do? My first interview.
You did well. You did well.
Thank
What's
God for
great.
editors.
Yeah.